Throughout human history, certain plants quietly sustained entire civilizations. They were not glamorous crops. They didn't dominate international markets or appear in glossy agricultural reports. But, they carried something far more important: resilience. Among these plants was one that contained an astonishing concentration of nutrients, more protein than milk in comparable servings, dozens of essential vitamins and minerals, and the ability to grow in harsh conditions where many crops failed. For thousands of years, communities relied on it as both food and medicine. Yet somehow it nearly disappeared from global agriculture. That plant is moringa, often called the miracle tree in many parts of the world. Today, researchers are rediscovering its extraordinary properties, but the story of how such a powerful plant faded from mainstream farming reveals a lot about how food systems evolve, and sometimes forget the wisdom of the past. Moringa trees have been cultivated for thousands of years across parts of Africa, South Asia, and the Middle East. The plant grows quickly, tolerates drought, and thrives in poor soils. Farmers valued it not only for its leaves, but also for its pods, seeds, and even roots. Traditional diets in regions such as India and parts of East Africa frequently included moringa leaves as a daily vegetable. The pods, sometimes called drumsticks, were cooked in soups and stews. Seeds were pressed for oil, and in some communities they were even used to purify drinking water. What made moringa unique was its nutritional density. Its leaves are rich in protein, calcium, iron, potassium, vitamin C, vitamin A, and, a wide array of antioxidants. In many traditional cultures, it was seen as a food that restored strength, especially for nursing mothers, children, and those recovering from illness. Long before modern nutritional science existed, people recognized that certain plants helped the body recover and stay strong. Moringa was one of them. Modern research has helped explain why traditional communities valued moringa so highly. Laboratory studies have found that moringa leaves contain an impressive profile of nutrients and bioactive compounds. Some estimates suggest the plant contains over 90 beneficial compounds, including essential amino acids, minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants. In terms of protein content, dried moringa leaves contain significantly higher concentrations than many common foods. While milk provides valuable protein and calcium, moringa offers a broader range of nutrients in a plant-based form. This made it particularly valuable in regions where livestock was scarce or expensive to maintain. Moringa also grows quickly. In warm climates, it can be harvested multiple times per year. Leaves regenerate rapidly after pruning, making it a renewable source of nutrition that requires very little land. For families living in drought-prone environments, this reliability was absolutely crucial. Just a few trees planted near a home could, provide fresh greens, even during the most difficult seasons. Beyond nutrition, moringa offered practical benefits that really extended far beyond the kitchen. The seeds contain natural compounds that can help clarify water by binding to particles and impurities. In traditional communities, crushed seeds were sometimes used to help clean murky water before boiling. The oil extracted from moringa seeds is quite remarkably stable and resistant to rancidity. Historically, it was used in cooking, cosmetics, and even as a lubricant for delicate machinery in early industries. Meanwhile, the leaves and pods served as a truly versatile food ingredient. They could be eaten fresh, cooked like spinach, dried and powdered, or added to soups and sauces. Because the tree grows quickly and tolerates pruning, families often harvested leaves regularly without harming the plant. In short, moringa was not just a crop. It was, in many ways, an entire survival system. Given its remarkable qualities, it might seem surprising that moringa did not become a dominant global crop. But, the reasons have more to do with economics and agricultural policy than with the plant itself. During the 19th and 20th centuries, large-scale agriculture increasingly focused on just a handful of staple crops: wheat, corn, rice and soybeans. These crops were easy to mechanize, transport and process on an industrial scale. And, governments invested heavily in research and infrastructure to support them. Plants like moringa, which were traditionally grown in smaller decentralized systems, did not fit neatly into that model. They were often cultivated in home gardens or mixed farming systems rather than large monoculture fields. Because they were already widely used locally, they attracted little attention from commercial seed companies or large agribusinesses. Over time, global food markets became dominated by a narrow group of crops that could be standardized and traded internationally. Many traditional plants remained regional foods, quietly continuing their role without receiving the same recognition or investment. Another factor was cultural perception. As countries modernized, many traditional foods were associated with rural life and poverty. Imported foods and processed products often carried a sense of status and modernity. Urbanization accelerated this shift. As people moved to cities, they relied more on commercially available foods rather than homegrown crops. Plants that required fresh harvesting or small-scale cultivation became less visible. This pattern occurred in many parts of the world. Traditional grains, vegetables and tree crops were gradually replaced by standardized foods produced in centralized systems. Moringa was not erased intentionally, but, it was pushed to the margins by changing economic priorities and cultural trends. In recent decades, interest in moringa has grown again. Researchers studying sustainable agriculture and nutrition have begun looking more closely at traditional crops that were overlooked during the industrial expansion of farming. Moringa has attracted attention for several reasons. It grows in arid climates, requires minimal fertilizer, and provides valuable nutrients in areas where malnutrition remains a concern. Development organizations have promoted its cultivation in regions facing food insecurity because the plant can be grown locally with relatively low cost. At the same time, global interest in plant-based diets and natural health products has introduced moringa to new audiences. Powdered moringa leaves now appear in smoothies, teas, and nutritional supplements in markets far from the regions where the tree originated. While some claims about the plant are exaggerated, its basic nutritional profile remains impressive and well documented. The story of moringa highlights an important lesson. Resilience often comes from diversity. Crops that thrive in difficult conditions and provide multiple benefits can play a crucial role in strengthening food security. For gardeners in warm climates, planting moringa can offer a steady supply of leafy greens throughout the year. Even small backyards can support a few trees, and the leaves can be harvested repeatedly. More broadly, the plant reminds us that traditional agricultural knowledge contains valuable insights. Communities that lived close to the land often developed systems that balanced nutrition, resilience and sustainability long before those concepts became part of modern environmental discussions. Today's global food system, relies heavily on a limited number of crops. While these staples provide enormous quantities of calories, they also create vulnerabilities. Climate change, soil degradation and water shortages are, forcing researchers and farmers to reconsider which plants might help support future food security. Traditional crops like moringa represent an important piece of that puzzle. Their ability to grow in challenging conditions and provide concentrated nutrition makes them valuable additions to diversified agricultural systems. Rather than replacing existing crops, they can complement them, offering resilience when other plants struggle. Moringa's story is not simply about a forgotten superfood. It is a reminder that human knowledge about food has developed over thousands of years, often outside formal institutions. When we look closely at traditional crops, we often find solutions shaped by generations of observation and adaptation. These plants survived because they worked. In an era when food systems face new challenges, revisiting those solutions may prove more important than ever. If you enjoy learning about forgotten foods, traditional survival crops, and the hidden history behind the plants that sustain civilizations, subscribe to the channel and share this video with others who appreciate practical knowledge from the past. Because sometimes the most powerful resources are the ones quietly growing where we least expect them. Strength, and the disciplined life you are capable of building.